Being a police officer and being on the SWAT team is when the hobby started. Each stitch is interlocked, so that if you snip this or if this got caught on something, it wouldn't unravel.
We are here with Joe Huff, who is the owner of Rustic Heirloom, where they do small leather handmade goods. Wallets, like knife sleeves, what are some of the belts?
Belts, bags, totes, leather patch hats.
Yeah.
It's made out of leather. We do it at some form, shape, but we have pretty much stuck it down to a lot of small hand carried goods, wallets, belts, a lot of gentleman items.
Yeah, so we're gonna check out the shop. It's small now. They're actually moving over in, hopefully a month to about double the space. But we'll check out all the stuff. We'll talk to him about his business, how he grew, and see about handmade leather goods. So what, right here, it looks like you got everything stamped out. It's all the same size. What are these for? This is your #1 seller, I believe, right?
Yeah, so this wallet here, actually I have one in my pocket. That's our #1 seller. It's called the Hitchhiker wallet.
Pull that card out, make sure we get the social security number.
And so these are, of course, that's the very, very beginning stage. Alex just cut these out on the clicker press, and we'll go over and take a look at that here in a minute. Of course, when we first started the business, we started cutting all these by hand. So these are at the very beginning stage. This was all a hide, a few hours ago, or actually Thursday before he cut them out. And so they're cut out now and ready for the next stage, or next steps to be made. And they'll eventually all end up like that. So our next drop is a multi-colorway. Normally we do a color drop of 50 to 100 wallets,
right.
And we just do, if we do Moonlander, which is that color, it's only Moonlander. And
gotcha.
So that drop is you can only buy that colorway that
so
week.
You're gonna have options.
Father's Day's coming up, and we decided, there's
Smart.
a lot of folks that want to, had a different colorway that they've been trying to get their hands on, so we'll make it where there's more than just one color available.
Gotcha.
Drop.
Cool. So if we were starting the process of, doing one of making something, where would we kind of start with?
So we'll jump back over to this side, over here, where Alex is just hanging out.
Yeah. Nothing's happening over here, guys.
So we are in the process of moving. So we've been kind of just ordering the leather that we need to have on hand to get some of the projects done, and we've got a big order with our main distributor, Wicked and Craig, that will be coming towards the end of the month that we'll be able to go to the new shop. We just don't want to move hundreds of hides.
Don't move it twice if you don't have to.
But you can see we got some of our leather stored up here, and then we've also got some stored over on this shelf here, and then kind of thrown in between.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where all of our projects start. So depending on which colorway or which item we're making, obviously, your thinner leathers are going to be, pocket goods, wallets. Some of our bags are made out of the same thickness. And some other, cuffs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got your thicker leather that is for our belts.
Gotcha.
But so we'd come in here and we would grab a hide, and then we'd take it back into the other room to the main table. Probably the biggest point of our shop right now, we still do a lot of stuff by hand. So we do have some machinery and some equipment.
Yeah, it's super interesting. It looks like you're a 1950s shop still, but I know what you make out of it. It's super interesting.
Yeah, so definitely with the new space, we're going to upgrade and get a lot more of the equipment and machinery that is used in today's functions as we've been growing. But as we started, of course, everything was done by hand.
Right.
And that's kind of how it started as a hobby. And, I was a former police officer on a SWAT team, and it was a stress reliever. And I like doing something with my hands. So very methodical, sitting it down, trying to figure it out, saddle stitching it, like the old Western days, and that's where we are today. And obviously, due to production, we've had to upgrade.
Yeah.
But once we get the leather and bring it into the shop, like I was getting ready to explain, a lot of our space is table space because a lot of stuff is rolling out leather hides, cutting it. No matter which step you're doing it, we still always need a flat surface. So a lot of the shop is occupied with tables. This table here is our main cutting table. And this is like a self-healing mat so that we can use knives and stuff on it without dulling them. But we'll bring the hide in here and roll it out, and we'll cut it into strips. And so depending on what that product is depending on how wide of a strip we cut. For our wallets, we cut about an 8 1/4 inch strip, and then we'll roll that hide back up, and we'll bring it over to the clicker press, which is where we cut out. We use a clicker die that it's made out of, I don't even know what you'd call that. It's not an epoxy. It's I think it's an acrylic with blades. Alex has got one here. So.
Oh yeah.
And so you'll put the hide down you'll
So
lay.
it press it or stamps it out
Yep,
almost.
and then this just comes right down here, and it'll click it right out. Once it clicks out, that's what you see over there on the
Yep,
table.
yep.
And that's where we are at the first stage of that. So we click it out, and then we bring it over to this table over here, which is kind of another just a space to work.
Gotcha.
And so we'll be on this table, and we'll use a beveler, and he's gonna. Alex is our handyman.
Alex he's basically Vanna White of the shop. Just the pretty face that hands things to people.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can get a shot of that. So this is a very precise blade. It is very sharp, and what it does is it actually bevels the corners. So when the leather is cut out, it's very square.
Right.
And this just rounds.
Yeah, it gives it like that rounded edge, so it doesn't look bad, I guess.
Yeah, it gives it more of that finished look.
Yeah.
And it makes burnishing a lot easier.
Yeah.
And so what we do on this table is this is made for doing some cuts and stuff that doesn't need the mat.
Gotcha.
So like these, we're not cutting through anything, so we can stay above surface. But beveling is just basically taking that edge off. As you can see here. And so we'll sit here and we'll do all of the wallets after they've been clicked out. We'll sit here and do all of the beveling over here on this table.
By hand.
By hand, yep. So that would be the front, just like I did there, and then of course we'd flip it over and we would bevel the back. And then once we're done on this spot here, we keep a lot of our honing stuff for keeping our tools sharp right here as well, because it kind of can get messy. But once we get done with that, we'll then come over to the other side.
I've always thought, like I don't have many hobbies right now.
Mm-hmm.
You have a kid, and that's your hobby. But like, I want something to just like what you were talking about with you're a police officer and needed something to like distract yourself almost.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need that, and I've always been like interested in making things. I'm not very handy, but I would like to be. I'm like, oh, I'd love to be able to make wallets or like do woodworking and like make this table. I'm like, that's just cool to me.
Yeah. And so that's exactly how it started off. It started off as just a stress reliever. Just like we've known each other for quite some time now. And being a police officer and being on the SWAT team is when the hobby started. More of just, and it wasn't even a reoccurring hobby. It was kind of, oh, I need something, I'm going to make it instead of buy it, because it kind of gives me something to do. And it, over the years, I mean, I started doing it when I was 14 years old, probably as a Boy Scout, and making belts and keychains for Christmas and those type of things. And it just, throughout all those years from adolescent to adulthood, it was just a hobby in the time of need, when I needed that hobby. It wasn't until probably around the time I knew you, a little bit after, probably.
Yeah, you were. When did you actually like launch the true business?
So
Must have been like 2015 or so?
No, so 2015 is probably when it became more of like a reoccurring hobby.
Okay.
And then 2018, 19, I like made a space for it.
Gotcha.
I was like, all right, I'm gonna make a dedicated workshop.
And it was in the house.
It was in the house.
Started in the house?
It was in our spare bedroom.
Yeah.
And it was kind of just my little tinker room. And I didn't only just do leather work in there. So like I built that table at my father-in-law's shop. I've always tinkered with stuff.
Yeah, you're much more handy than I am.
I like building and doing stuff. So it was kind of like all right, I'm gonna build a nice table to put in there.
Yeah.
So I overbuilt the table. If you're starting a business, you don't need the same table. Just put some legs on, a piece of plywood, and get to work.
This table's the best.
And so the room kind of became my tinker room / like leathercraft room. And then 2019, I made some wallets. I think it was actually a watch band. I made a watch band for a new watch that I got 2018 Christmas.
Okay.
And I liked the watch band, I liked the watch, and I wanted a wallet to match. And so I made a wallet. A buddy saw it and was like, hey, can I have one? Yeah, made him one. And fast forward a couple of buddies, got a couple wallets. And some of the wives were actually like, why are you giving my husband all this free goods? You need to stop. You need to be selling this stuff. And I'm like, selling it? Like, this is kind of just a hobby or fun or whatever. And so we put together, a small quantity. It was nothing large, nothing to, write home about. But it was just a small little amount of goods. And we actually went to a little market right over here. And immediately, we just set up our stuff on the table. It was and it sold out so quick. And I was kind of like,
my work here's done.
Yeah, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, realistically looking back, I was still policing full time, and it was a hobby, and it sold. So it was kind of like, So that quickly morphed into like a side hustle. So I was still policing full time. I was making wallets. At that time, it was just strictly wallets and keychains, I think. And on and off watch bands when I could get the parts in. Because again, I didn't have any vendors lined up. It was very minimalist, hobbyist type of venture. And so that rolled real quick into, a side hustle. And then it very quickly turned into, and this is like mid to late 2019, like a part-time job. It got to the point where I was working every evening when I got home to get goods out and working full-time during the day as a police officer. And November of 2019 is when we were like, all right, this needs to be a business. And then, so we claimed the name Rustic Heirloom. We loved it at the time. And then we, built a website, launched it. I think, I want to say it was like Thanksgiving of 2019. So I stayed policing for a while, full-time. And in what was it, Alex, 20 or 21? I can't, one of those 2 years. I think it was 21 that I left policing full-time with the city and went full-time at this, just me. And I went part-time to another agency as a police officer and remained there for quite some time. And then I did work part-time a little bit. Then I went a step further down, kind of just a reserve officer. And January, I'm no longer sworn police officer. I'm just doing this full-time. And in June of last year, Alex came on full-time with us. So now it's the two of us in the shop, and this is all we do. So the hobby, quickly morphed from a side hustle or hobby to side hustle to part-time gig to full-time gig.
I mean, that's very similar to what my video business was, my marketing company. I did exactly the same thing. I mean, it started out as like, I'm just going to do some videos for fun. And then someone was like, well, you should be charging for this. And it's like, well, all right, why not?
Let's do this.
Yeah, and then it just eventually became the full-time thing. Yeah, but almost same exact story.
Yeah, and no looking back. Just, it's, there's a part of me that misses like some, the policing aspect of things, and I did it for quite some time. And now, though, looking back, like, it's hard to put a price or a value on like the freedoms and the mindset of life.
You're probably like, man, what if I would have actually jumped all in like 2019?
Yeah.
What would have happened?
Yeah.
Where would I be now?
Exactly.
You'd already be in the new space.
Yeah. So that's like the other thing. Like, so we quickly moved from you came to that shop, our small spare bedroom in our house as a hobby room, and literally the start of the business grew in there to the point of the reason we moved to this building in the first place is we had no more room in that little tiny bedroom that we had created, and I was putting shipping in the little end of the living room that was near that room.
Your wife was like, sir, this is not happening anymore.
Yeah, she was like, you're not taking over the living room with shipping. You need to go somewhere. And so a good friend of mine, Jordan, introduced me to Taylor, another good friend of ours now, who also does some YouTube stuff, does EDC in the EDC realm. And this opportunity came open, and he was like, you could be my neighbor. It's a good opportunity for you. It's small enough. It's bigger than what you're in. Yeah. Tippy toe, step into it, see if you like it. And that's kind of what we did. And so we only lasted 9 months in that space and then moved to this space. We've been in this space maybe a year and a half, I think. And now, next 2 weeks, hopefully.
Next venture.
Yeah, as long as the demo and the build out gets finished in time, we'll be in double the size space and have a business front. So
yeah, that'll be cool. I mean, everything right now is online, word of mouth, all that kind of fun stuff. What do you think? I mean, I know you say like, I don't want a storefront necessarily, but like, do you think that's going to actually generate business? Do you guys get people wanting to come in and like see things right now?
So I think it's kind of like double fold, like yes and no. So I don't know that the space that we're moving to is essentially the best location for a retail space. I think there's good potential to have a retail space. I think where we are in the stage of our business, that we don't really want to tie ourselves down to being open, 7 days a week or anything like that, or set hours. We kind of like the ability to come and go when we need to. We've got family stuff going on, or vacations, or just other activities within the community. We can run and go do all that when we're just maintaining the shop. The next move is it's definitely gonna be a workshop, but it'll have more of like a, I don't know what you want to call it, showroom feel to it. We'll have a small little area that can showcase some of our goods. We get a lot of people that do hit us up just wanting to see what we do and pick up their local goods. So even on drop days, we'll drop in people from North Carolina, maybe even 2 hours out, say, hey, if I drive to Concord, can I pick it up locally? And we've had people here. Unfortunately, the space that we're in right now, even when you get here this morning,
it's tough.
How do I find you?
Right.
And it's the layout of the building makes it kind of hard for the the customer just to come in straight off the street.
Drop it out the window.
There you go, airmail. So with our new location, we're hoping that we can go back to some local pickups.
Nice.
Maybe open in the showroom, maybe like one Friday every month. And then the other thing that we want to do is open our doors to the community and start some classes. So we want to do some like
That would be fun.
yeah, build a belt with dad for Father's Day.
Yeah.
So like you'd purchase the class, your dad, you come, we all make the belt
That'd be
together.
super cool.
We all go across the street to Cabarrus Brewing, have
Yeah.
a beer, have a good time.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, so it's, I think slow steps into bringing in the community into the business when we move to the new location, and then if that works good with the 1 day open as like a just a landing area for folks to come pick goods up or even showcase it 1 day a month. If that starts to turn into something that we see, hey, maybe let's do 2 or 3 days or 1 day a week, and if it grows, then we'll see. Maybe a retail space is what we'll need at that point. But I think the next 2 to 3 year mark is kind of just
Feel it out.
bigger space, more equipment, upfitted more equipment, and then just kind of get in that realm of some teaching and some courses for the community.
I think that's cool. That's a really good idea. I think it's anytime you can put on like, we talk about in marketing, like how can you create a memory?
Yeah.
Like you're going to be creating memories for people, which is, you don't have to market it.
Yeah, because there's so many places and people like hands-on stuff,
Right.
and there's not a lot of it anymore. So I think, and this is something you could keep forever. So like if you did build a belt with dad or build a wallet with dad, whatever, you come in with your dad, you guys are bonding, you're creating a moment, and this leather good item that you've made together is going to last forever.
Right.
So it's kind of like it's 100% win-win for everybody.
Yeah, super good idea. I really like that. All right, Alec,
So
you're up.
So next, we bring it right over to the burnisher. So this machine is actually twofold. The way it works is this side here sands, and we use that towards the very end, and then this side's a burnisher, which is nothing more than a piece of wood. This is a hand slicker, hand burnisher that back when we first started the business, this is all we would use before we had the piece of machinery. But now, we've sped things up a little bit, and we do it by machine, as Alex is going to show here.
So basically that's just taking the edges and making it smooth so it doesn't have that rough finish.
Yeah, so basically what he's doing, it's basically
It's almost like if you take a lighter
yep,
and on a string so it doesn't unravel.
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So it's using a compound that we mix here in house, and that wood spinning at a high speed, and it basically seals the end grains and makes it a real smooth finish.
Yeah, I find all this super interesting because this is the complete opposite of what we do in my business. We do nothing other than shoot videos and edit and talk to people about marketing. So like actually doing something with your hands and seeing a finished product that you can touch and feel, I'm like, I miss that.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what makes us doing this, what makes it still something that we're into every single day, because it can come monotonous when you're assembly line type doing things. It almost becomes like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I like to be creative. But working with your hands, even at that rate, still has that creative side that kind of keeps you coming back for more.
It's like you're doing just enough to stay interested of continuing to do more.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could get 10 people in here and like he only sits and does that all day, but
Exactly.
man, he would.
And we've talked about that several times, like what does growth employee-wise look for
Right.
us going forward? And that's some of the things that we've discussed, and probably like, I don't know that I'd want to hire somebody to sit and just do that.
Well,
Whereas it'd be better to have a house full of makers that anyone could do anything. And each day, maybe you come in and you're like, Joe, I just don't want to sit on the bench today and do nothing but burnish. Can I click everything out? And I'm like, yeah, man, we got to cut out 150 wallets. That's your job for today.
Yeah.
And you went and did that.
That's cool.
I think that'd be much better than
It
for
would
this
keep
industry.
it'd keep it more. I mean, it's the same with us. Like when we're shooting videos, I mean, you have to edit them. Like the people that are editing all day long and only editing, I mean, it gets boring. Like, yes, it's different videos you're editing, just like you're making different things, but you're still only doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, Nick, who's behind the camera here, he can get out and film and then edit. It's like, oh, well, I use a different skill and a tactic rather
Change the
than
day up,
Yeah, just not doing the same
It's
thing.
breaking the time up and just breaking the space up. And that's another thing why it is set up kind of like thought out where we're kind of moving it around like it's that process, but at the same time, there's enough surfaces and enough tools in different places that you're not always just wearing a spot out in the carpet, standing right here doing the same thing all day long. So,
you kind of talked about how you got your first clients, which is, friends asked you for what you do. How are you guys, because you guys have a pretty good business from not really telling many people about it, which I appreciate. I kind of did the same thing with mine. But how are you guys getting new clients, customers, people coming in and seeing what you guys are doing? Like, what's your number one marketing strategy?
So marketing, we probably don't do enough. We discussed
You
before
know
we
that.
started shooting. And we definitely could do more. And I think that's part of the next steps in growing the brand and the business more is branching out and doing more marketing on all levels. But in the beginning, it was seriously all word of mouth. It started off very small, very local, just, so-and-so seeing it and saying, hey, I want one of those. Where'd you get it? Oh, Joe made it.
Yeah, looks cool. I want that.
Exactly. And that kept turning into more offers of work. So a lot of the work in the beginning wasn't just our wallets or just our watch bands or our belts. It was, you saw so-and-so's wallet and you hit me up because your dad had a briefcase that you want to restore that was handed down to you. Maybe the handle's rotted a little bit or the strap. And so it's a lot of custom work is what really elevated our business. So we went from making small goods, getting kind of familiar around the little local area and with friends and family that grew real quickly into custom work. Holsters, nice sheaths, and a lot of restoring, to be honest. Some boots, baseball gloves, stuff like that. They were like, hey, you do leather work, can you fix this? And it always started off with, hey, no guarantees.
I don't know.
But let me see what we can do for you. So fortunate, unfortunate, I guess, in the same sense, we grew, we met our buddy Taylor, who does Best Damn EDC, and it was probably one of the hugest growth aspects for us just because, we're friends.
If you have someone that's already got an audience and they say you're doing a good job, it's a lot easier to sell.
It's a lot easier, and that's probably like what really just started the ball rolling for us because he was actually with, our big inspiration when I made this wallet. And so when I first made this wallet, I was at that point of getting out of policing full time, want to kind of minimalize my life. And I was used to carrying that big old wallet with my badge and everything. And he was kind of like, put a staple on something, like make something that's your product, and then that's what you push and you run with. And so I was like, I'm going to make a wallet that's a front pocket wallet and get it on my back pocket. I don't need to carry a badge. I don't need to have a bifold,
You used to have back problems because you sat on your wallet all the time.
And now that's gone. And so that's where we rolled into that. He was part of helping narrow down which design I really went with because, there was 2 or 3, maybe even 4 renditions of this wallet that just didn't work out. And so he
knew the industry of what people wanted.
Exactly. So him and Jordan, myself, all carried a rendition or a version of the hitchhiker wallet that it is become today, and kind of fine-tuned it to a point. And then, he fell in love with it and he liked it. And so, he wasn't afraid to tell his friends or his community. And that really, really, really helped our growth. And then, aside from that, we just fell into the niche of the EDC world, and they're great customers. It's a great community to be part of.
I feel like your Instagram has grown enough now that if you guys say, like, we're getting ready to put this out, you almost sell out of it immediately.
Yeah. So knock on wood.
Yeah, it's doing good to do that, but obviously that's not a sustainable growth. Like, you're going to try and do some more things. When you're first like coming up, sorry, let me backtrack here. You had a good thought or a good idea that you used this. I think you said a year or 2 ago. You said you had 39 SKUs. You had a bunch of different products, and then you cut it to basically your top. Winners.
So it's like that whole theory, stepping over $1 to pick up a penny. And so we had 39 products. We, wallet, different variations of wallets. So we had like 3 or 4 front pocket wallets. We had the bifold. We had a skinny trucker wallet. We had 4 or 5 different bag, tote, purse options for ladies. We did a small briefcase for gentlemen. We had 2 or 3 different belts that we were making. We had our hats, coasters, a lot of pantry items. And some of them are a lot harder to make, so it's a lot more labor intense. And then there's other things that don't have the monetary value that other products do. And then when you're first starting out and this is a hobby, right? You make everything, right? Because it's all fun.
Right.
We love makers, or we love making because we're makers.
Right.
And business model wise, you have to kind of step back from that. So the first unplug is like, we can't afford to do custom work right now. It's just not very profitable. It's very, very time consuming because by the time you sit down, especially if you're coming to me and being like, hey, I really have this idea, you know, I'm doing this marketing gig. I want to have a nice journal. So when I go and talk to clients, I can take notes. But you have very specific details of how you want this binder to be. By the time you and I draw this up and go back and forth, I've already spent the money made that somebody's willing to pay for that product. Right. And so we kind of push ourselves out of that custom market. The next step is that we were stepping over dollars for pennies on some of the other products that we were carrying just because I enjoyed making them. That's not a good way to run a business because you enjoy doing something that needs to remain your hobby. Right. And business needs to be business. And so ultimately, I think it was January 2023, we made the decision that, hey, going into the new year, so I guess it was December of 2022, we decided that, you know, we're going to do addition by subtraction. And we said, all right, we have 39 items. We're going to knock it down. And I think the goal was to get it under 12. I think we knocked it down somewhere between like 10 and 15. I mean,
yeah, it's always the idea of what makes us the most money, what's sold the most, and what do we enjoy doing the most.
Exactly. And so what could we get done with all of those, you know, topics in mind, and still be profitable, but also still enjoy doing it, because like we talked about a few minutes ago, the last thing I want to do is become a human assembly line, hate the job, and forget why we started this in the first place. And so ultimately that's what we ended up doing. We narrowed it down, funneled it into, you know, a dozen products or less, and haven't looked back. And kind of that's been our scheme for right now. It's kind of been, hey, you know, this wallet sells, this belt sells, this belt buckle combo sells. So we don't need 6 belts and 6 different buckles. We need 2 buckles, 2 belts, let's go. Hats, same thing. Narrowed it down from carrying one of every single color to 3 main colors. That's the best sellers. Yeah. And that's kind of where we are today.
No, I think what you've built here is super interesting. It's super cool. It's doing, you know, probably better than you ever thought it could ever do.
Yeah, my intentions were just to have an awesome hobby.
It turns out it's a pretty good business that you can work at with your son too. So I always envy people that can do that. So, you know, someone that wants to check this out, where can they go to possibly purchase something or kind of follow along?
Okay, so Instagram is probably our main social media network that we use, or platform that we use, and it's just Rustic Heirloom there. We're also on Facebook. We don't directly post to Facebook hardly ever, to be most honest, but it does the auto share, and sometimes you click the thing.
Easy.
Yeah. We do have a YouTube channel. We have 1 video. We're working on it.
Should have way more. It's a very cool video. So hopefully we'll see more of that.
Yeah, and so Alex is full-time. So that when we actually shot that, he wasn't full-time yet.
Right.
And so he was actually working with our buddy Taylor over at Best Damn DC, and then doing some work for Carry Commission, which is another buddy's company that Taylor and Jordan are partners on. And so we were lucky enough to get him full-time in June to join the family business. And so he's like, that's part of his background, and he enjoys doing some of the shooting and stuff. So hopefully some more videos coming forward from that. So we do have the YouTube, it's Rustic Heirloom as well. And then our website is primarily what we sell. You can check out on Instagram, but you can buy direct from our website, which is just rusticheirloom.com.
Perfect. Well, Joe, I appreciate you showing me around,
man.
Checking everything out. And guys, if you want to check out Rustic Heirloom, visit the website, buy something. It's super high quality, and you'll enjoy it.
Cool, man.
Cool. The end. Ooh. Nice.